You can add Chris Sims to the list of national NFL analysts who continue to hate on Brock Purdy. Chris Sims straight up disrespecting the 49ers quarterback by ranking him 17th in his latest quarterback rankings. We're going to debunk that, and we're just not going to tolerate the Brock Purdy slander because I have numbers. I have reasons. I'm going to debate back with Chris Sims for why Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback in this league. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for choosing us to get your Niners content, and thanks for hanging out here with us. First, if you think Brock Purdy is legit, and you're with me, and you're against Chris Sims, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If not, that's fine. You can disagree, but I want you to comment why with your reasoning. For those of you who do not know who Chris Sims is, the son of Phil Sims, the legendary New York Giants quarterback from way back in the day. He went to Tennessee. He played in the NFL. And now alongside Mike Florio, they do a morning radio show every single day for Pro Football Talk. And he, of course, has his podcast and is a very well-known NFL analyst who, by the way, I might add this, a couple of years ago, had Kellen Mond as his number one quarterback in his draft class. Wild. Anyway, every single year, Chris Sims puts out his list of the top quarterbacks in his eyes in the National Football League. This year, it's a top 40. And all of these quarterbacks here were ahead of Brock Purdy. And it's easy to see the top few and why those players might be better than Brock Purdy for sure. So I have no issues here, but I have issues a little bit later. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, Josh Allen. Then it's Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Matthew Stafford. Next page, 6 through 10, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Jared Goff. And then there's Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, and Jordan Love. And then finally, we flip to the page where Brock Purdy resides. And Chris Sims, ahead of Brock Purdy, still has Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and then Brock Purdy, 17th on his quarterback list in the National Football League. Here's an entire look at the top 40 countdown, and he kind of released these by brackets or segments over the last couple of weeks. The quarterbacks after Brock Purdy: Tua Tagovailoa, Geno Smith, Caleb Williams, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Justin Fields, Will Levis, Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Ryan Tannehill, Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold, Bryce Young, Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Gardner Minshew, and Jarrett Stidham at number 40, rounding out that top 40 list. Look, there are so many ways to evaluate Brock Purdy, and what he's done over the last season and a half since replacing Jimmy Garoppolo has truly been special. It's truly been elite. With this level of play, his level of efficiency, the amount of games that he's won, the big games that he's won, and of course the story of him being Mr. Irrelevant. Last year in 2023, Brock Purdy was top 5 in MVP voting. Statistically, one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. He played like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL last year. So you could certainly make the argument that Brock Purdy is a top 10 guy if you just want to base your argument on the 2023 sample size. Now, if you want to say that Brock Purdy is between 11 and 15, you can make that argument and I'll hear you out. But Brock Purdy being 17th, but then also behind Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray is crazy. I know that Trevor Lawrence was drafted number 1 overall. He was supposed to be a generational quarterback. He hasn't been generational. Jordan Love is a player who it took him a little while, a couple of years to become the starter. And then he didn't catch fire and play well until the back half of last year, but then Brock Purdy mounted a comeback against Jordan Love and beat him in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield was terrible before last year. Last year, he was pretty solid, but Brock Purdy was definitely better. If you want to tell me Brock Purdy has so many weapons, Baker Mayfield didn't, with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and a really good defense. And what has Kyler Murray done over the last couple of years where you can say that Kyler Murray is better than Brock Purdy? Mobility, he can run. Brock Purdy's ability to improvise and extend the play and make plays happen out of structure, I think is a special and underrated quality. So I get tired of the argument from the naysayers and the detractors saying, and they're all casuals, Purdy is only successful because of Kyle Shanahan, an elite coach, great play caller and play designer, and the supporting cast of weapons that he has around him. Part of the reason why Brock Purdy isn't taken seriously and why he continues to get disrespected by national NFL analysts is because in this social media era, Brock Purdy doesn't do things that are sexy to the eye, that go viral to casuals. The real ones know that Purdy can sling the rock, throw the ball all over the yard, can complete passes at all three levels, makes defenders miss in the pocket, great pocket feel, pocket mobility. Frankly, I'd like to see Kyle Shanahan allow him to take more reins of this offense so that he can make more plays out of structure. But how about the big-time throws he makes on the money downs, where he fits the ball inside a small window, inside a keyhole, which makes you say, wow. Now, he doesn't have the size of Josh Allen, who's 6'6", and the bazooka of a Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, or Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have the speed, and he can't pull it and run it to the degree that Lamar Jackson can, right? But Brock Purdy has some professional, elite quarterback attributes which make some of the great players great, from Joe Montana to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and more. What are those? To name a couple: timing, touch, accuracy, anticipation, processing. If you're not a huge athlete, but you excel in those areas of timing, touch, accuracy, anticipation, processing, you could be a successful quarterback. You can be an elite quarterback. You could play in this league for a really long time. You can win Super Bowls, and you can be a truly special player. Brock Purdy is able to complete passes because of accuracy and underrated touch and arm strength to the sideline, up the number, up the seam, and he can take the top off of the defense with deep ball accuracy. He's a gamer, and he's a good athlete. And a lot of these stats that we're about to show you prove why Purdy is elite. And they are statistics that go to show that he's not always picked up by his head coach and his supporting cast. Look at what Purdy accomplished in 2023. And how can you tell me he is the 17th best quarterback in the National Football League? He was third in passing touchdowns with 31. He was number one in yards per attempt at 9.5. His deep ball completion rate, that is a really difficult area to thrive and excel in. 55.3%, number one in the NFL. Don't tell me he's a check down artist when he's number one in yards per attempt and deep ball completion rate. When he is pressured, sometimes this is when quarterbacks fold. They piss down their leg. Not Brock Purdy. Number 4 at 63%. In the red zone, when the game moves faster and the field is condensed and quarterbacking becomes harder, red zone completion rate, 70.4%. Number 2 in the NFL. His true passer rating, 113.4. Number 1 in the NFL. QBR, expected points added, deep ball catchable rate percentage, number 1. Yet he has the number 1 deep ball completion rate and the number 1 deep ball catchable rate percentage when his receiver target separation 14th in the National Football League. That goes to show you that Brock Purdy is throwing his guys open and they're not just running free all of the time. Now, Chris Sims probably doesn't look at those numbers. He forms an opinion for social media traction, but that's hopefully why he's going to tune into today's show and realize Brock Purdy at 17th is absolutely asinine. So you can speak for yourself. This is the beauty of this show. I want you to be a part of it. Fill in the blank for me. Brock Purdy is the blank best QB in the NFL. Let's hear from the faithful. And also make sure you give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior, approaching 13,000 followers on X, approaching 30,000 followers on Instagram. And you can let me know what you think of Brock Purdy as a player and where he should rank among all QBs in the NFL. This is wild, right? You thought everything that we talked about was insane? The insanity from Chris Sims did not stop there. Here's what he had to say furthermore. He'd rather have Jordan Love over Brock Purdy. What? Yes. If Jordan Love played in the Super Bowl, the 49ers would be the Super Bowl champions. If you went back to the NFC divisional game, Jordan Love had the 2 interceptions at the end of the game. Jordan Love in that game played better than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy should have thrown 7 picks in that game. He got lucky that night. We'd all be talking differently if Green Bay could catch. You're just going to ignore the fact that the Niners came back in that football game, inclement weather, in which Brock Purdy persevered, led comeback drives, played clutch, and you're going to ignore the fact that Jordan Love threw 2 picks, one of which ended the game on a stupid quarterback play in which he was flushed, ran to his right, and tried to throw off balance across the field, across his body, and it landed into the awaiting hands of Dre Greenlaw. That's bad quarterback play. Brock Purdy didn't make that play. All quarterbacks throw interceptable passes. That's a reason why you're going to take Jordan Love over Brock Purdy. Jordan Love has a half season of good production. Brock Purdy now has a season and a half of high-quality production. And we always give Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, other elite quarterbacks credit for coming back in games. Those comeback bids are epic. We're not going to give the same respect and recognition to Brock Purdy because he's a little bit smaller and doesn't have a bazooka for an arm. Brock Purdy pushes the ball downfield. Brock Purdy is not a game manager. Brock Purdy has elite qualities. He's not a dink and dunk passer. So you can't tell me that he is a game manager. And you can't tell me that he's the 17th best quarterback when the numbers prove otherwise. And then on top of those numbers that we talked about earlier, how about a 78.3% adjusted completion rate, top 5 in the NFL last year, and a 5.4% big-time throw percentage? It's craziness. What will we see from Purdy in 2024? Will he make progress and get better than what he did last year? Will there be a regression? Let me know down in the comments section. Thanks for watching the show. You're all the best. Let's go.